good friend of mine, which I'm thrilled to be able to say. And back here on the Rich Eisen Show from Sunday Night Football on NBC, Al Michaels. How are you, Al?
I am doing great, Rich. Good to be with you yesterday. Great to be with you today. And hopefully I'll see you down the line in short order.
I agree.
It's so good to see a schedule come out. And again, it's being very optimistic, and you're on top of it. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or next week or whenever. And, right now, not only did they come out with the schedule, but they came out, I think, with the preseason schedule as well, because we're on the docket for a couple of games in August. So let's see what happens.
You know what? That is basically what I think the NFL wanted to do. Let's just get out there. Let's get it all out there, and we'll adjust once we do get it all out there. And that's why they did that with the draft last week, Al. It's like, because if not then when? And teams can now basically plan as best they can and then adjust. And you look at the schedule, and they, this isn't like dipping a toe in the pool, you know what I mean, and figuring it out down the line. A real deal raising of the banner in Kansas City with Deshaun Watson coming in, and then you come here to Los Angeles to open up the new stadium with the Cowboys. I mean, that is that's as real deal as any schedule would start for you in NBC.
I was listening to you talk about the history of the stadium, and you and I both know it because, living in L.A., but I go all the way back to when the Rams played in the Coliseum, and they were the only team in town, and they decided they didn't want to play in the Coliseum anymore. They moved to Anaheim, and that opened up the Coliseum for the Raiders. So now you had two teams coming in, and then you had both teams leaving.
Mm-hmm.
In 1994, Oakland goes back to their original digs. Rams go to St. Louis. Rich, I'm thinking about a couple of different things. One of them because a friend of ours, R.D. Hubbard, the great racetrack impresario, he died last week, I think at the age of 84. But R.D. Hubbard had made a deal with Al Davis to build a Raiders stadium at Hollywood Park, where the SoFi Stadium is going to be now. And there was a big sign up there, future home of the Raiders. That went away. And then, I don't know if you remember this, but Al Davis, and only Al Davis could have pulled this off, because instead of getting sued, he used to do the suing, just litigate, baby. But he went to the town of Irwindale, which is nothing but a gravel pit with about 28 people, and somehow, some way, extracted a personal check to him for $10 million. $10 million out of the Irwindale budget, which I had no idea that had $1,000 in it. He got a non-refundable $10 million check from a guy named Xavier Hermosillo, who was the city manager of Irwindale. And Al felt so badly about it when, what hit the fan when everybody said, where in the world did that money come from, that Davis gave Hermosillo a job in the Raiders front office, I think in the ticket department. So, you can't make this stuff up. You can't. And then so they leave, and now you've got all kinds of possibilities. Farmers Field, remember that? That was going to be built next to Staples Center.
Right.
That went away. Then you had the thing in Carson with all the methane gas underneath there, and that was where the Raiders and the Chargers were going to play. And then Stan Kroenke comes in and rides in and comes into the rescue, and it's only costing them $5.5 billion to get that up. But it's going to be great, Rich.
But Jerry Jones is a no-brainer first guest for an owner to bring his team in for that one.
Jerry knew. Look, Jerry built the Taj Mahal of stadiums. That stadium is right now, I think, 13 years old. 12 years old. It's still, to me, it's beautiful. It's pristine. Jerry only does things first class, top grade. And you walk around that stadium, and it's one of those, the old cliche about eating off the floor. You can. They maintain it perfectly. And he knew in Stan, he had a guy who had the same kind of vision. So the only difference would be, not the only difference, but Texas is a right-to-work state, and California is a union state. So Stan's only spending about 5 times what Jerry did to build his Taj Mahal.
And now he's coming here for week one on Sunday Night Football. And then I'm looking at some of the other Sunday night games. You got Brady twice, one in Las Vegas and then one at home. You've got the other week one is on Fox with Brady coming out of the gate at Breeze, but you've got Breeze at Brady in week 9. That's just going to be dynamite, Al. Just dynamite.
Well, you know what? I look at that game in Vegas, and it's going to be exciting, obviously, to go into Vegas and see what that's all about. But with Tampa Bay going in there in Week 7, remember back, Rich, to I guess January, February, after the Patriots season's over, what is Tom going to do? Where is he going to wind up? Will he wind up with the Chargers? And I think a lot of people thought that he was going to wind up with the Raiders. He would go to Las Vegas, and I think I mentioned on the telecast that we did yesterday, Rich, about I was in Vegas in late February, and they were very excited about the team. They were very excited about the draft, and they were really excited. The locals, they thought they had a real good chance to get Tom Brady. So they're going to get Tom Brady, but he's going to be in a different uniform on Sunday night, the 25th of October. And our other Vegas game is on November 22nd, right before Thanksgiving, Kansas City at the Raiders. So our two games in Las Vegas this year will have Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, and that's pretty cool.
All right, and you've got Ravens-Patriots again. This time around, though, it's Ravens at Patriots. And then last year, obviously, the Ravens just stomping the Patriots was, I guess, a watershed moment in the season last year for both teams. I'm wondering, did you and Chris pick up anything when you chatted with Brady last year about that Brady was out the door? Because he has subsequently said, now that he is in Tampa, telling your friend, you have appeared on the Howard Stern show, Al, telling your friend, the king of all media, that he knew he was gone last summer, is what he said. Did you sense any of that when you chatted with Brady prior to Sunday Night Football games in New England last year?
First of all, you are the king of all media. You're on constantly. Forget about Howard. You know, it got a lot of publicity because I talked about this with you and a couple of other people in the past couple of months. So we did that game, which was the 9th or 10th week of the season. Anyway, the Patriots came into Baltimore early in November on Sunday night, and they were 8-0. They were undefeated. Halfway through the season, everybody was saying, "Oh, the schedule was easy," and defense. And the defense was great. They were averaging, giving up less than 10 points per game. And Brady was doing okay. But that's when Tom said, and he said it with a little bit of a smile in our production meeting, "I'm the unhappiest 8-0 quarterback in football." And that's gotten a lot of play out there. But that's exactly what he said. He didn't say I'm the unhappiest quarterback. He's just the unhappiest 8-0 quarterback. Of course, how many 8-0 quarterbacks were there at that particular time?
Right.
But anyway, you get the point. But still, I sat across the table, and we've covered him a lot, through the years. I know him pretty well, and I know how much Bob Kraft loves him. I mean, Kraft talks about the fact he's like another son, and Kraft and Brady have gotten along so famously that even though there might have been whatever it was, and I'm not sure, I don't know what it was with he and Belichick, and if it was anything, I don't know. Maybe Bill just wanted to look to the future. Maybe Tom just wanted a change. Nobody seems to know. I think it was a confluence of events, but I can't say that I really saw, nor did Chris at that point, that it was, a possibility. Yeah, a scam possibility, maybe. But the fact that he would walk out the door, shocking. And in fact, I was trying to get the answer out of him by saying to Tom, "All right, listen, I'm gonna lay odds of 43,000 to 1 right now at this table that you will never wear another uniform." And he kind of laughed. And then one of our top research guys, Andy Freeland, plunked down $2. So now I'm on the hook for $86,000, and I never want to see Andy again.
I bet, and it's interesting, too, Al Michaels here on the Rich Eisen Show. Not one, not two, but 3 Packers games on the schedule. Week 3, dynamite game, Packers at Saints. The latest iteration of Bears at Packers in Week 12. And then a Titans-Packers game all the way at the end. That's a 3G situation right there for you guys as we pop the schedule up here. And we had Favre on this show 2 Wednesdays ago, and he said that the Jordan Love drafting will definitely have the wheels turning inside Rodgers' head. And you're going to watch that drama play out in year 2 of Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers and what's going on right in front of your very eyes with some pretty big games for this team. How do you as somebody who's watched the young Montana stuff, the Favre Rodgers stuff, you've seen this play out before. Do you see this another situation like what we're assuming it is, Al?
Well, you sure made news with that Favre interview. That was something I heard it that day, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Obviously, and a lot of people picked up on it. I look at the top quarterbacks through all the years that I've done this. You go to Marino and Montana, and with Brady and the Manning boys, and even Aaron Rodgers right now in his mid-30s, and everybody's saying, well, this is the kind of thing that lights a fire under them. And I'm thinking to myself, and then go back to Garoppolo too when he got drafted by New England a few years back. I know these guys. They don't need a fire lit under them. These guys are all out all the time. And knowing these guys, there's not one of them that I knew wasn't all out, no matter what was going on. So when people say, "Oh boy, this will really get Aaron crazy," or he'll be a better quarterback because he's got this guy behind him, I don't buy that. Aaron Rodgers has so much pride and is so intelligent and gets everything that I don't see Aaron Rodgers, because Jordan Love is there on the bench, playing any better than he would had you had anybody else behind him on the bench, like an older quarterback, a guy that wasn't going to take his place someday.
Right.
So I'm not one that buys into the fact that you've got to motivate these guys who are super motivated to begin with, have great pride in what they do, and I'm of a mind to expect them to play exactly the way they would play if none of this was happening on the side.
Yeah, and last year, you called the Packers-49ers game. That was another watershed moment, I would say. Certainly, that was when the Niners spanking the Packers coming off of a bye week, and that's when I think they kind of grabbed the, okay, they're for real mantra and ran with it all the way through to beating the Packers in the NFC Championship game, and those were the last two Packers losses of their entire season. You got the Niners 3 times, Al, right now as it's currently slated. How good do you think this team is based on everything that you've already seen moving around chess pieces from NFC teams from the free agency draft to the current day?
Very, very good, Rich, because and we talked about it. We had the 49ers 3 times last year. It turned out, 2 in flex, and then we had them in the playoffs against Minnesota. And I keep going back, and I repeated it every time we had the 49ers. But John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan said the first thing they wanted to do is build a Super Bowl defensive line. And when you look at how they've constructed that team, and if you want to go back to that Green Bay regular season game at Levi Stadium, the 49ers were able to blow them out early because of the pressure that was put on by that defensive line. You had the Rodgers fumble, and then, the roof caved in early. So you've got that defense, which is terrific, and they played very well, of course, in the Super Bowl up until the last 6.5 or 7 minutes of the game. So I look at them defensively, and I think they're very strong. I think Garoppolo's a really good quarterback. People are trying to pick him apart right now. He's whatever, they want to say. Okay, got it. He's got some good receivers. You got the running backs really came through. They had a whole bunch of them last year. I like the way Shanahan and Lynch have constructed this team. I think they're very clear-eyed. I think they see exactly what they need to do to make this team a contending team. And they clearly are. They're back. It's like the glory days are back. They had 2 glorious decades. Then the 2000 decade wasn't particularly good until Harbaugh got there, and then they were good again, and then they fell off the end of the earth again, and now they're back. So I think the 49ers look to me like they're a team that's poised for a good long run here.
Well, Al, last night in that conversation that I had with you and Joe Buck, who's joining us in about 7 minutes' time, and Jim Nantz, who's joining us at the very end of the hour, in that conversation we had live on NFL Network last night, I think we had our first flex of the season with Jim Nantz talking about the Mahomes at Brady game, and that's the game that everybody wants on the screen. I think he was flexing right there, Al, and I think he put the peremptory chip for CBS on that game right away. I think you're gonna have to come through Nance to go get that game on NBC this fall.
I don't know. You know, when it comes to the league making up the schedule, that and 20 cents will get you nothing. You know that. So, you can politic. You can politic and pray and all that stuff. I mean, all these years, you know, living out on the West Coast, you know, I enjoy when the schedule comes out and I see a few West Coast games. And I'm looking at the schedule, and I sneak up on it one by one.
Yep.
And I know we have to open in Kansas City, but I'm sneaking up on it yesterday when it came out, and it goes, oh, open a game at L.A. Good. I'm in bed that night at home.
There you go.
At Seattle, I'm in bed that night, too, flying back home.
There you go.
San Fran in week 4, great.
There you go.
Seattle week 5, was Pacific. I'm going, wait a second. What happened here? I mean, this will be my 35th year of doing it. In 34 years, I think I've had 8 games in the Pacific time zone. Now I've got like 11 in 1 year. So I am worshiping at the shrine of Howard Katz.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're mentioning the executive who's atop the scheduling flow chart. You've known You've known Howard since what? Since like some sort of motocross day that you did Wide World of Sports back in the 70s with Bruce Jenner, pretty much back then or something like that?
In fact, my father, who passed away in '83, my father and Mark McCormick started Transworld International, TWI, which is a part of IMG. And my father and McCormick ran it, and Howard worked for my dad over 40 years ago. So we go all the way back. I mean, way back. And then Howard, you know, was living out in California. Now he lives just outside of Philadelphia. But we go far back. And who would have ever thought that someday, you know, I'd have to call Howard and say, man, this is the best. I can do this whole schedule on a Greyhound bus.
I love it. Before I let you go, Al, give me a good Wide World of Sports story. What's the craziest thing you did for Wide World of Sports back in the day?
Without a doubt, motorcycles on ice in West Germany, 1977. I remember that. Without question. That's when, you know, I was the new kid on the block. I would do anything. They wanted me to do the scene set by riding down a strip of ice in front of like 15,000 wild and woolly Germans who've been drinking schnapps all afternoon. And I had never been on a motorcycle in my life. I'd barely been on a Schwinn. I needed training wheels, but I'm ready to do this. They put me in the leathers of a guy who's like 5'6" and 145 pounds from Russia. At that point, I'm probably 5'10", 180, and I can't breathe. And now I don't know how to work the motorcycle. I don't know what to do. I don't know, a clutch, a thing, whatever. I don't know what dials to turn. Do I do it with my feet? And all I know is at one point, I started to rev it, and had somebody not grabbed the clutch, I would have been launched along with Soyuz. I would have been up there with Yuri Gagarin in space somewhere. But we survived. We made it. And, you know, when you're the rookie and you're the kid, you'll do anything. And then all of a sudden you get a little older and you go, get out of town, clown.
Yeah. So there was no agony of defeat, basically, is what you're saying.
Oh, there would have been a memorial service that afternoon.
Al, I love you, man. Best to Linda. We'll chat soon.
Okay, take care, buddy.
Thanks for the call. That's Al Michaels. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.